Hey, everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 99. Almost coming up on the century mark here. Just missed it for the Super Bowl edition. That'd have been cool. Have
Yeah.
the 100th on the Super Bowl. But a lot of cool stuff coming up later in the season. So that's kind of cool. We got March Madness on the way, draft, all kinds of cool stuff happening. We got Big Box Steve on the mic, got the Big Smooth, got Fresh West, the whole crew here. And of course, this episode, we're in Super Bowl wrap up. Uh, what a day, what a game. At least we had good food, I mean,
Yeah.
can't complain about that, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Mimosas.
Mimosas and wings and ribs. Can't go wrong there. But the game overall, I mean, it was a good game, right? It comes down to the end, goes to overtime. So you can't really fault the game itself because that's kind of what you hope for when you're watching a Super Bowl. You want a good game.
Right.
Now, how the game played out and things that happened in the game, not so good. Um, Before we jump into the game, though, let's talk about Super Bowl commercials. These have gone way downhill. I mean, if you guys think about it, how many good commercials did you really see here? $7 million a commercial, keep in mind.
Oh my gosh. They said there was a Budweiser Clydesdale one, but I didn't even see it.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah.
I mean, what you had the Dunkin' Donuts one was funny because you had all those people in it. Of course, Mr. T. That I was looking at the list, they were showing like the top. It was like they put it like at 20 something. I'm like, what?
Mr. T?
Yeah, they had like the Doritos commercial with the crazy old lady's head. I'm like, that one was stupid.
Mr. T was 20. These people
It
are
was
hot.
something like that. It was like I was looking for it. I'm like, are you telling me this isn't even wow.
What was Schwarzenegger?
One.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that was good.
That one was good, yeah.
The chopper, take me to chopper. That was funny.
Uh, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'd call it number one, but it was hard. It's hard because there wasn't that many that were great. I like the Mr. T a lot. I would say that was probably top five. Arnold was top five. I mean, Dunkin' Donuts. So the problem with the Dunkin' one is like you paid 7 million for the spot. How much did you pay for Damon, Affleck, and Brady?
Well, Affleck is a spot is already there. I mean, he's a Dunkin' Donuts sponsor guy. He's already on that payroll, so who knows? Plus, maybe they just love Dunkin' Donuts. And J-Lo. Forgot J-Lo was in that too.
Right. Oh yeah, J-Lo too. And that's got to cost a lot of money. But kind of outside of a few commercials though, on average, it was hard because part of the Super Bowl had become, hey, they're gonna have some good commercials. And I don't know. For me, I didn't think it was great last year either. This is the problem. The problem was is like I wasn't really satisfied with last year, and then so I was like, do better.
I totally spit. Honestly, the last 3 or 4 years, I remember one year, and I think it was the Rams and Patriots Super Bowl in 2019. There wasn't one commercial. They all sucked. At least he had a couple that were good. They were funny. But I remember one year they all were they were all PC. They were all like dumb. And then they tried to cater to people that were like the millennials. So they did jokes that weren't even funny, like to the average person. Yeah. I mean, there are some good ones this year. There are just some, just like every year. They can't make the commercials like they did in the old days. Everyone will get offended. Right? Everyone thinks they're going to get people are going to offend it. I don't think people care, you know?
Well, there's a certain part that if because with social media and those type of things, like the people watching, I probably don't care that much, right? It's the aftermath I think they're mostly worried about.
Yeah.
Because when we're watching it, it's funny, it's a good commercial, whatever the case is. But when you start breaking them down, and then social media hits them, and it hits, X and all the different social media platforms, Facebook and things, that then you gotta face that aftermath. I think that's the bigger problem. I was what was I just watching? Oh, Starship Troopers. I mean, you want to talk about like the an old school non-politically correct movie? Like that was great.
Well, Verhoeven wanted it to be satire, like so it was over the top.
Right.
And actually went against everything that Robert Heinlein wrote the books about. But
Yeah, it's just I think kind of agree with Wes on that part though, that they write the commercials or they shoot the commercials or whatever, they're really just more focused on not getting canceled.
yeah.
So stupid.
So that was pretty disappointing. Halftime show also pretty disappointing.
Well, I don't know if it was Wes or who was it that we were watching it and goes, I didn't realize I don't know that many Usher songs
Yeah, I
that
don't
are,
know.
I mean,
I realized I didn't know any.
well, there's like 3 or 4 I knew, but I mean, it got saved when Ludacris and Little John were in it.
Yeah, yeah. You bring in a couple guys to.
It did not get saved when Usher took his shirt off. That was like when it's like, come on, dude, really? Do you really have to take your? Is that okay? Is that something he used to do, like his concerts? Like, I don't really know or care,
Probably.
but it's like, dude, you're 45 years old, dude. Come on, you know, let's just keep the shirt on. The roller skating part was kind of cool, but another problem with it is, I think this happened a couple years ago when they had a massive stage. Like they could have had a lot cooler stage, but they didn't want to damage the field because it's a grass field, you know?
They should have put
So
him on like Peter Pan wires.
dress them in
He
green.
could fly around the stadium.
I
Uh,
don't know. I don't get it.
yeah, I mean, I guess it wasn't terrible, but yeah, just it's disappointing when
Why does it have to be that long? They said it was the longest halftime
it
ever.
was pretty
Like
long.
how? But I lost track of time. I think I was just trying to numb my mind with mimosa.
Well, that's the thing. It's like he
Yeah.
doesn't even have that many great songs. You had the
Yeah.
year when it was, Dre and stuff. That could have gone an hour.
Right.
And we got like a short one there. It's like, really?
Yeah, so I guess some of the things around the Super Bowl for me, which also makes the Super Bowl kind of fun, were a little disappointing this year as well. So
No, the one thing that was cool is when they came out of the tunnel. That was sick.
yeah,
With
that
the
was
light,
pretty cool.
that was pretty good.
Yeah, it looked
I was
like
like,
a
why did those two teams come out that tunnel, man? Why can't we have the Lions and like the Raiders?
it was like
We're
a
gonna have
sci-fi like like from a sci-fi movie.
yeah, that was pretty sick.
So that was cool.
There was some cool stuff, like the Sinatra opening. That was really cool. You know, I thought the production before the game was really good. I just think, of course, we have to do the 50 minutes of, you know what, let's all get along and, you know, and do all this stuff for 50 minutes. And then the game didn't even start till like 3:45.
Yeah, you're in Vegas, you got a lot of stuff you can talk about
Yeah.
pre-game. So and then the game. So I think we all obviously picked the 49ers.
So
Chiefs win
But we
it.
all kind of thought what was going to happen.
I almost
Yeah,
picked
but
the
you don't want
score
to
though.
believe. You don't want to believe. You want to pick that what you think is the better team and who's going to win the game. So overall, like when you look at the way the two teams played, I mean, San Francisco didn't capitalize on turnovers, a field position. Like there was a lot of things that you look at what they did as a team where you say, well, I mean, should they had a bigger lead at halftime? Probably.
But it's Steve Wilkes' fault.
Well, I mean, that's a tough one, man. That's all over the media right now, all over the analysts and ESPN, and everybody's talking about that. That was a big surprise. I think even if you don't think the defense played well, and they didn't play well throughout the playoffs, but is that a reason to fire him?
Well, it's because Shanahan wants to take it off of him. That's his third Super Bowl that he's had a double-digit lead in that he's lost a game, the Super Bowl in. And so he wants to make it about, oh, let's forget that the offense sucked. And we threw the ball more. We put Purdy in so many terrible situations.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that all? That's not necessarily Shanahan's choice, though. Like he's involved in the choice, I'm sure, but he's not going there and being like, I demand Wilkes get fired.
Well, it's not his guy either.
Yeah.
He's not one of Shanahan's guys. He was an outside guy.
But still, I mean, GM obviously has to be involved in that decision.
Right, but a lot of times the coach, says, I don't really gel well with this guy.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm sure he's talked with the coach, but I don't outside maybe like Belichick, I don't know many coaches that go to being like, hey, this is the way it is.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, think about it. Like Eberflus, it's like, oh, I'm going to save my job and we'll fire Getsy. And, there's a lot of coaches that go out and they're like, oh, I'm going to fire this guy. That's the reason why we're not doing so well. It happens all the time where the scapegoat one of the coordinators.
Yeah, I'm sure
Usually it's not a Super Bowl team.
They're in some kind of meeting, throwing them under the bus for sure.
No, I mean, the thing is when everyone's talking about for a week about number one, not just what he did in overtime by taking the ball instead of deferring, but like players don't know the overtime rules. And honestly, I started looking up the rule itself, and I don't understand it. I don't understand what happens after the first overtime.
It's second quarter.
Each team gets one possession pretty much. So it doesn't matter.
But if it's a
that
tie,
possession's over.
It's weird. But if it's a tie after the set, they do another coin toss. That's what it says here.
Oh, that the whole like, oh, I don't. It's like, who cares? Stop them, and then you won't have to know what the rules are.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
with that rule though, you want them to have the ball first,
right?
Yeah.
So it's silly. It's silly with that rule to take the ball first. I think because there's no benefit.
But the ridiculous thing is, Shanahan comes out that night at the post-game press conference, and he just kind of like hums and haws. As well, we went to our analytics team and they told us we want to have the ball third, right? But the thing is, what the analytics didn't say about the whole situation is it didn't predict what Kansas City was going to do, and they planned the whole week to go for 2 if they got the ball second to win the game, right? And so nobody knew that, so it still didn't really matter.
Well, that's also why you want the ball second, right? Because even if they score, you go down and score 2, and then you can go for 2.
Yeah.
Well, and the biggest thing is if they get the ball first, they're going to be more conservative on 4th down.
Right.
We're not going to go for it like Kansas City did because they knew they had to.
Mahomes got an extra down.
You're 4 downs.
An extra down.
Right.
On the second one, which is that should right there. That should be like, you know what? No way. I'm going to defer. You
Because the
can't give them an
49ers
extra
stopped him
down.
on 3 downs.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? They've been showing the third down play a lot where San Francisco got down and they had the incomplete pass, and then they kicked the field goal in overtime.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys seen much of this third down play, but the two so they did kind of like a jet sweep fake almost, like a RPO fake where they pull a guard when it's obviously not a run. Like the fake was not even like put it inside and pull it out. It was like he was just running by. So I don't get this play. So one, they pull a guard right there, and the center's supposed to slide. Center doesn't slide, the guard pulls, and there's about a 4-foot opening for Chris Jones to run right up the middle.
Yeah. Well, no, the first down play, which is, I mean, they are torching them on the toss to the left side away from Chris Jones. McCaffrey, he gets him all the way down to the 20. Then first down, what do? They run to the right to Chris Jones, and they lose 2 yards, right? I mean, they have all the momentum in overtime. And then I'm like, why would you run that play on first down? Just toss it to the left. They can't stop it. Do it until they stop it. But then all of a sudden they run to the right. It's in that play, what you're talking about. I kind of know what you're talking about, but just the whole play in general, it just had no chance. It's like, why do you run those plays when obviously you need a touchdown? The field goal, everyone knew if they just kicked the field goal,
They're
you
gonna
knew it
lose.
was going to happen.
Right, game over.
It was done.
Well, and the other dumb thing is, Spagnuolo was going to blitz.
Right.
So why do a complicated play action with a guard roll?
Right. That's what I. Why aren't you just in regular protection, right? And then Ayuk's defender falls on the play,
He was white, yeah.
but Purdy didn't have time to even look
Right,
at him because
exactly.
Jones had nobody blocked him. He literally was in the backfield within seconds, and so he had to just toss the ball away. If you do regular blocking there, right? Even if Chris Jones swims moves or does something great, he still has time to find Ayuk. Versus, oh my gosh, nobody's blocking me. I get to run right through the middle. And you're talking about, B gap. It's not like he's coming from the edge.
Not coming from the edge, yeah.
Well, and that's what I've said about Kyle Shanahan so many times. People like news people all love him, but you know what? He's like a Josh McDaniels, better than Josh McDaniels. I'm sorry, I don't want to say but those offensive mind guys that think they're too smart for, oh, I'm going to be so smart here. No, you're stupid. Just run a play that's there. Don't be doing weird.
Right. So here's
like Wes said, the toss play neutralizes the blitz.
I got a trivia for you guys. How many holding calls did
0 in 3 Super Bowls?
No, they actually had one in 2019, but it wasn't on their line. It was on Byron Pringle. So in 3 Super Bowls,
Bosa was getting held nonstop.
Their line,
and that was ridiculous.
Three Super Bowls, their line didn't have a single holding call.
That's bizarre.
That is bizarre.
I will say though, there weren't a lot of flags called in the Super Bowl though.
Well, there were 6. Each team had 6.
Yeah, I mean there was way less last year.
It wasn't terrible. It was six penalties.
But it's still weird that you have no holding calls, And then in this game for sure, like I'd have to go back and watch tape on the other 2 games because I don't remember them as well, obviously, because this one just happened. And that's all over. Even sports analysts, are calling it out, right? People are watching tape, talking about it, and they're like, well, here's a hold, here's a hold, here's a hold. Why are none of these getting called?
Bosa talked about it before the Super Bowl.
Right.
He said that the Chiefs don't get holding calls called against them, even though they hold nonstop. And it's true.
Well, they do. They were one of the top penalized in the league. It's just that it's just not in the playoffs. That's what's weird. It's like, how can you be a top 5 penalized team? The 2 tackles are 2 of the top penalized tackles over the whole season until they get to the playoffs, and then no calls.
Well, maybe there's not a script, but the playoffs could be rigged.
I mean, I don't know. It was like I was saying during the game, man. You can't write a better script, right? Like if you were writing it, like you did a good job.
Well, you kind of predicted the last 5 minutes in the overtime. Remember, you kept saying it.
Because that's how you want the game to finish, right? Like if
Yeah.
it's like a movie. How many movies do we watch when we're like, hey, I know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Well, that was off topic, but I was watching this year's Royal Rumble, and it was the very end, and Caitlin was coming downstairs, so she's like, "Oh, how long?" And I'm like, "Don't worry. He's gonna go for his finishing move. The other guy's gonna reverse it, toss him over, and win the Royal Rumble." Literally 2 seconds later, that's exactly what
Right.
happens. And I'm like, "Okay, that's over now, so we can watch something else."
Yeah, because they're both sports entertainment companies, right? The NFL
Yeah,
and the WWE are the only two sports
and
entertainment
if you've
companies.
watched enough of them, you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, they're hitting it hard. Like, I don't know if you guys watch some of these off shows. I mean, Wes, you were talking about listen to Rome and guys like that, where they're talking about some of this where over the years a lot of people have come out and not necessarily scripted as WWE scripted, but talking about like, hey, the refs are paid, certain things were happening in these. And there's a lot of like people have come out over the years to talk about this.
Well, hello, us Raider fans have known that for years. Al Davis sued the NFL.
Right.
Then we got a bunch of weird penalties go against us, most penalized team ever in each year. It's like,
Yeah.
the tuck rule. Like, what referee umpire has memorized the tuck rule? Right? Come on.
Yeah, but then it has to happen though too.
It has to happen in the freaking snow.
In the snow, like all like that's a lot of like things where like they were talking about one of the first ones to come out was the Colts. Was it the Colts and the Jets?
Yeah, Super Bowl 3.
That's where Unitas didn't play, the backup played through like a
Right.
bunch of interceptions.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that.
Yeah, so that was like the first one, and this guy, one of the guys came out and he was on somebody's show, and like, oh, it was what's his name? Bubba Smith.
Bubba Smith, yeah. He's the one that came out and said
Yeah.
that moral about moral.
And they're like, "Did you know?" And he's like, "Yeah, about halfway through the game, I knew."
Yeah.
And then he like got in a fight with the dude at like the after party for throwing the game, and they kicked him out.
He got in a fight with Moral after the game.
So the dude Moral's out there like dancing on the dance floor, celebrating on the after party, and Bubba Smith's all mad because they lost, and he's like, "This dude's out there dancing." So I went out and tackled him, and then they kicked me out.
Well, that game's bad, but what's the one that's even worse, I think, is Super Bowl 5. I'm not going to talk about a lot about this today because I'm still watching. I've watched the whole thing maybe 5 times. The last 2 minutes of the game has disappeared off the earth. You can't find it anywhere. NBC doesn't have it. NFL Films, the highlights, they cut it out basically and put like different things in there to make up the last part of the game until the very end touchdown. There's all sorts of stuff in that one that's really weird, and that's mostly the refs. The refs basically botched the game.
We were talking about this the other day. One of the guys I work with, he was like, "Hey, what do you think? Is it scripted?" And I was like, I played a lot of football, and it would be too hard to script
Yeah.
in the sense of what you think scripting is. But could you pay refs? Like, could refs be involved? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, here the weird thing. Remember the Kelsey play where he had the 27 yards on the final drive of regulation?
Oh yeah.
So someone broke down the San Francisco's defense on that, and he's like, "This is so bizarre because San Francisco's a zone defense, right? And here, it's 3rd and 7, like one of the most important plays of the game. They're playing man, straight up man, right? And that's perfect for that kind of mesh play. So they ran that mesh play while San Francisco's just playing straight up man. And the dude couldn't believe it because this guy he's on Colin Cowherd's. He breaks down like all the games. Like breaks up all the details. He's like, I can't believe they ran man here. It's so stupid on 3rd and 7, and Kelsey got that 27-yard. Yeah. And it's just like so ridiculous.
Well, that's why Steve Wilkes got fired.
Yeah. I mean, now you know why Wilkes got fired. He's running man.
But here, you're playing zone for most of the game in an important situation like that. Right. You start playing man.
Well, I mean, in hindsight, yeah, it's bad. But think about it. If they've been playing zone most of the game, they're game planning for a zone when they make the play call.
Right. But it's like the Ravens, though, running, not running the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're talking one play, not the whole game.
Yeah.
If the Niners we're going to go man the entire game, that would be one thing.
Right. I'm just saying that like the coordinators do different things, like weird things sometimes. Wow. Where it's like, I don't know if you remember the Tampa Bay Rams, when the Rams won the Super Bowl, their playoff game came down to the end, and Cooper Kupp had the big, like, 40-yard catch right at the end of the game.
Where they were in cover 0.
Tampa was in cover 0.
Yeah, cover 0.
And you're like, what are you doing? And your cover 0 happens to be your safety trying to cover Cooper Kupp on a streak.
Well, it's just like man coverage on Travis Kelce. You're an idiot. He's going to go to Kelce. He has no one else to go to that he depends on. He's going to Kelce there, especially if you're in man.
Well, it wouldn't have made a difference. It would have been okay if Greenlaw doesn't get hurt.
Well,
because Greenlaw would have been on him.
You would think Greenlaw could do a better job than their backup for sure. I mean, that hurt them obviously from the beginning. I mean, losing Greenlaw is a big loss for them, especially that early in the game.
But back to Shanahan. What people are complaining a lot about is here. Purdy throws 40. Throws 40 passes, double the amount of runs they have to McCaffrey. And
I still think he had 22 runs, right? 23 runs.
Yeah, he should have had 40. But
right, but he touched the ball another 10 times, right? So over 30 touches. It's not like they didn't get him the ball.
Well, the only thing I had is they ran the ball on first down religiously. And then half the time McCaffrey gets stopped. So you'd have Purdy in 2nd and long, 3rd and long. And that's what he put Purdy in a bad situation.
They put him in a lot of bad situations.
Purdy's not Mahomes. He's good, but he's not Mahomes. So you can't put him in those situations.
He did good on what Shannon made the adjustment on, because they stopped the run in the second quarter. McCaffrey couldn't get off, and then he's like, all right, we're going to start doing the pitch play. We're doing the toss. And that worked for a while, but it seemed like to me in the fourth quarter that McCaffrey was kind of hurt, but he was playing through it.
He definitely looked banged up.
He had that look on his face like he was hurting.
Yeah. He was playing through it.
Yeah.
And I think Derek, we say they put him in bad positions, that's exactly what happened, like the whole game. And like you said earlier, Spagnuolo's going to bring pressure. So the last thing you want is Purdy in 3rd and long with pressure.
Yeah.
And then their 3rd down plays were kind of a mystery to me too. Like the things they were doing on 3rd down. Throw some screens, like get some your guys in open space.
Well, here's the big one. George Kittle, 2 catches, 4 yards.
Yep.
Really? You're talking about, we don't leave Kelsey but it's okay to do that to Kittle because they didn't even throw it to him.
Right. You got to have plays designed for Kittle, especially with Kansas City's defense, right? They don't really have a defense set up to guard Kittle. But yet, if you don't draw up plays for him, you don't throw him the ball, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. He was only targeted 3 times.
Right.
Debo, 11 times,
Yeah.
3 catches.
Well, they kept trying that same, you know what Debo's you're gonna throw those quick, flats to him, or where the jets, things like that. It's like
Circle routes, all those.
you gotta, if you're gonna throw that many times to Debo, they gotta be different patterns, right? You gotta like let him stretch the field, let him run a streak because they're not expecting it.
Yeah.
But yeah, their whole offense just it.
Well, and then if McCaffrey's hurt, put Debo back there then and let him
Yeah.
do his sweeps.
Right. Well, I mean,
Right?
you got a good backup running
And
back.
Mitchell. Yeah, I know.
Nothing wrong with Mitchell.
Was playing okay, and then he didn't play enough.
Right.
And you know who didn't get the ball enough? Who should have? The real MVP, Juan Jennings, should have got the ball.
Let's give him the ball.
He only had 5 targets. He was 4 for 42 yards and a touchdown.
So then what did Kansas City do well that allowed them to win this game? Like, we're breaking down a lot of San Francisco stuff, but let's talk about the Chiefs for a second.
Well, I think it all comes down to Spagnuolo, the guy that stopped Brady's undefeated season is also the genius behind this because he made Shanahan look pedestrian out there on that offense. I mean, what you had 2 turnovers that ended up with 0 points from those, right? From the Niners.
Yeah.
Well, that's an offensive problem still. But I guess what you're saying is then Spagnola, his defense comes in and shuts him down after the turnovers.
Yeah.
But they moved the ball, especially in the second half, right? They scored on almost every drive in the second half, with at least a field goal. Because they only had 3 points in the first half. And so most of their drives in the second half, they brought points out of.
And Kansas City scored 10 points in the third quarter. They scored 6 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah, so field goal.
But remember, the touchdown was because of the muffed punt, and then they scored on the next play, which they were inside the 20.
Yeah, that one was too.
So if you think about that, I mean,
the Scantling.
they only gave up. He only gave up field goals besides that until the last touchdown.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, okay, so it's Wilkes' problem, but he held Kansas City to field goals the entire game.
Yeah.
Besides a red zone touchdown that wasn't really on the defense, and then the last overtime touchdown when they were exhausted.
Yeah, they're getting tired.
Well, offensively, though, I mean, even a field goal means you had to move the ball, right? And so you got like Kansas City's offense. Kelsey, I think, had about 90 yards or so.
He had 93.
Yeah, 93.
Didn't seem
9
like Pacheco
catches.
was going crazy. Like, he was efficient.
Yeah, he had 59 yards.
Right. So yeah, that's just an average game at best.
Mahomes had 66 yards rushing.
Yeah, that hurt them a lot, right? I mean, but that man, and Mahomes is so tough on that scramble because it's not like he's any type of designed run or anything. He's just escaping the pocket and just getting away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to give a little credit, I suppose, to Kansas City's offense, even though they came away with a lot of field goals. It means they're still moving the ball a little bit. The last drive was ugly. They were just, I mean, when they started moving the ball, you knew it was over.
But they did stop them. But since they had the fourth down,
right,
they got that. And you can't give Mahomes a chance to get fourth downs. And that's what happened. Is if what we said earlier, if Shanahan would have been smart, he would have deferred, had Kansas City go down first. Then they would have kicked a field goal.
Right.
because they're not going to
Or even if they score, then you get to go for it on fourth down
right,
instead of
exactly.
having to kick the field goal like they did. So in that case, right, when San Francisco kicks the field goal, like why don't maybe should they have just went for it?
Wasn't it? Oh, wasn't it like
It was like
fourth and
four to
five?
four. It was like third and four. I think it's about
I
third
don't
and
know.
four.
Was it?
It's kind of hard to go for it in that situation. Then you're just okay. Patrick Mahomes just needs a field goal. Then no, you should have just deferred it. That would have made everything more, you know.
Yeah, it was 4th and 4 from the 9.
Right. But so if you don't get it, they have the ball in the 9.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I would have gone for it, but they also
Dan Campbell would have gone for it.
right. But then I said I didn't say, but at the Super Bowl before, I was saying that Shanahan's one of the most
Yeah, he's conservative.
conservative
Right.
coaches on fourth down.
Well, and even though Moody, kicks a record field goal that gets broken, he still lost the game, right?
Yeah, the extra point.
That's when they missed the extra point there. That's like game changing because when you go from 4 points to 3 points, it just makes all the difference. I mean, what are the odds that he misses the field goal or extra point?
No.
That's pretty low odds. Especially when it's what could have been a 4 point game. Like you couldn't miss a more important extra point in
Right.
your life. Of all the extra points Jake Moody's kicked up to this point and is ever going to kick, the most important one of his life he missed.
Right. Because then we would have had an all-time ending because Mahomes would have had to go for it on fourth down
Right.
instead of kicking the field goal at the very end of the game. Go
Right.
to overtime.
That's just odd. That's odd too. It almost makes you feel like, man, if they really want you to watch this game. Overall, I just, it's outside of, want to say it's scripted or whatever. It was a good game. I think Kansas City definitely outcoached San Francisco. I think San Francisco had the better players. They played well enough to win the game, but overall coaching mistakes really cost them the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Ray McLeod fumble
But
that hurt.
that wasn't a Ray McLeod fumble. So if you watch it again, it hits the upper man's
Well,
leg.
yeah, right. It's
That
not
hit
all
his
it's not his
ankle.
fault necessarily, but
But he
that
should have
play,
dove on it.
yeah, that play changed the game big
Yeah.
time. And then the Moody extra point. But overall, I think San Francisco players, on average, they played a better game, played well enough to win the game, but there was some definite difference in the coaching between the two teams. And at that time, I mean, the real MVP is probably Spagnuolo,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is why he got an extension.
Yeah. Well, he's as an assistant has the most Super Bowl wins as an assistant, I guess. No?
Right. Yeah. So that was wraps up the year though. Not the team that even when the playoffs started, Kansas City's dangerous, but still not the team that I thought would come out winning the Super Bowl here.
Last team to beat the Chiefs were the Raiders on Christmas.
Yeah, did you hear I think it's Andy Reid who's like, thank the Raiders.
Yeah, because the Raiders they put a whooping on
That's
them.
what he said. He's like, man, I really, because they were in Vegas, Las Vegas still, and he was like, yeah, I really just love it, that we're in Vegas because I had to thank the Raiders for just beating us up because it really put us on the right path. Although, I mean, geez, obviously you don't believe in Dallas, but you'd think Dallas was there as a favorite. 49ers obviously a favorite. Ravens, Bills.
You're just naming off all the favorites for next year because that's basically what they are. It's basically the same, all the same teams.
You think so? I mean, that's kind of a. I mean, we
Well,
just
I've seen I've seen a couple of lines. San Francisco's actually the favorite around plus 500 or plus 300, and then 500 Kansas City. Cowboys are plus 1,500 and Bills are plus 800. It's basically the same.
Bills,
Detroit,
choke artists. Ravens, choke artists. Cowboys, choke artists.
yeah.
I mean, it's probably just going to be Niners Chiefs again, and then Chiefs will win again because Reed will outcoach Shanahan.
so think about the season now, like outside of Super Bowl. What teams made moves. What teams look like they can compete next year? I mean, is there anything outside of just saying, well, Chiefs 49ers again? Are there any other teams that made moves this year or looking like they, progress?
Lions, without a few boneheaded plays by Campbell, they were going to be in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, so the Lions, I mean, that's a team to look at next year as a potential competitor.
But I think the Chiefs, if they do have a kryptonite, it is the Bengals. The Bengals have beat them 3 out of the last 4 meetings, beat them a couple times in the playoffs. I think if Joe Burrow, it depends on how that wrist heals, how it's healing, and if they can keep T. Higgins. If they lose T. Higgins, I think that really hurts them.
I think they're going to franchise him.
They're going to franchise him? Yeah. They're going to almost have to. They can't lose T. Higgins. T. Higgins is too important.
The tough part for the Bengals is their division. It's like you get beat up all year.
Yeah.
And then you got to go in the playoffs, and especially with the way the Browns are turning around. Steelers, for some reason, just continue to play well. And then obviously the Ravens, are going to be there again next year. So that's the tough part for the Bengals is like playing in such a black and blue division.
I think the Browns need to rethink about the whole Deshaun Watson thing. I don't even think he's that good.
Well,
I think he basically hurts them next year.
They have to roll with them though. They gave up way too much.
They're paying him $50 million a year or something like that.
Because they're absolutely dumb. And it screwed up the whole market too. But yeah, you're paying that much money for the guy, and he doesn't even look like half the player he was.
Well, when time off, dude. Time off always hurts guys.
Oh. He's had enough time to figure it out, and it seems like he didn't. I mean, he just doesn't seem like the same player.
Right.
Well, look at Le'Veon Bell. Right when he came back,
right,
shelve himself.
Yeah.
But now we're going to look at his, franchise quarterback blockbuster trades.
Oh,
2 in a row now that have completely been screwed.
Right.
With the Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson.
Well, I kind of broke down all the quarterbacks this year, starting quarterbacks into solid starter, or question marks, and the team doesn't have a quarterback. And the NFC, I mean, there's a lot of question marks.
Well, let's start with teams that don't have a quarterback. What do we got there?
Well, AFC, I think, has 4. And that's of course the Raiders, the Broncos,
Patriots,
and
Titans.
South. The what?
Titans.
Titans
is in a tough position.
It's about 4. It's about 4.
I would say though,
there's a lot of question marks in the AFC.
The Levis and O'Connell could be just question. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, O'Connell went 5-4, and he had better numbers than Bryce Young.
But yeah, they're going to roll with Levis next year. I mean, he did play well enough. He's got a cannon for an arm. They're definitely going to roll with him, but that's question mark. I think Tua is
Yeah, I mean, you can move them into question marks, but Denver has to do something, it seems like, even though they still can keep, they could definitely keep Russell Wilson, right?
Yeah, but I think he's done with them, right?
Right. Well, I mean, after they had their talks, everything like that, and it's funny because Peyton kind of backtracked. I think they probably start getting into like cap stuff and pay and stuff, and he was like, "Wait a minute."
Well, NFLPA too.
Yeah.
Oh, their cap is ridiculous. I mean, they're like, minus 25 million. They're 28 in the league. I mean, they have zero cap space.
So the Patriots, though, Patriots really have to do something, right? Patriots, because Jets, you got Aaron Rodgers for another year potentially, right? Aaron Rodgers coming back, Tua and Josh Allen. So that one's all three of them. So it's just the Patriots there.
I think Trevor Lawrence is trade bait. I think Herbert's safe, but you know what? Herbert didn't play very well last year.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
And he's not
going a ton of money.
Especially with Harbaugh, but
Harbaugh really likes him.
Oh yeah, they got to keep him. I mean, the thing is, there's just a lack of quarterback talent in the NFL. You got so many retreads, and this idea that Minnesota's got the 11th pick in the draft and they're not going to draft a quarterback, they're stupid because Kirk Cousins is not the answer. He's probably not even the team.
Yeah.
What about Pittsburgh? Like Pittsburgh's got to do something, right?
Well, they're positioning themselves to do something. I just don't know.
You can't roll another year with Pickett.
That's the only quarterback they have left now because I think Rudolph's a free agent and they released Trubisky. So
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's not your game plan though, right? Are you sitting in the box like if you're the GM and the coach of Pittsburgh right now, are you sitting down saying, let's build around Pickett?
Hey, he's a 20th pick. He's a first round 20th pick, and they reached for him. This is their guy, and I think sometimes these owners are like, we're going to look like ass if we sit there and unload this guy when we wasted a first round pick on him. So they might already another year with them, but they're going to bring in somebody else.
There's speculation for Wilson or Fields to Pittsburgh right now.
I was thinking more of Russell Wilson than Fields, but it's just safer, I don't know if Fields would, they don't have quite the setup. They're not really a quarterback friendly organization.
I think Cousins would be perfect for the Steelers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Right, but that's short term. That's not a long term fix, though.
Well, the thing is, I think they want to win now. I think they can win now.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing we said before. Unless you're picking in the top 3, you're kind of screwed on quarterbacks here.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to be reaching for either Nix, Penix, McCarthy.
Well, I mean, comparatively, let's say, we just said Pickett went as a 20 overall pick in the first round. Would you rather have Nix, McCarthy, or Penix for that number 20 or Cody Pickett?
Yeah, but I don't think any of them are going to last till 20. That's
I would rather have. Well, I don't know. It's hard. You got to see more McCarthy. I mean, he's actually gone up the board here. I mean, you got some teams like he's around 24. You got some boards saying he's in the teens. Like he's jumping Bo Nix. It's just I don't know.
So I feel like there's more question marks in the NFC then, because as I'm thinking about these AFC quarterbacks, even the ones that could be pushed into question marks like O'Connell or Levis, because you don't know yet, right? They're still young, untested, guys. So they still could be your guy. But when you look over at the NFC,
Well, I'll tell you what I have here as 3 quarterbacks that are solid, that they're going to be your starters. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's going to be Jalen Hurts. That's going to be Jared Goff, and that's going to be Jordan Love and and Purdy.
What about Dak?
He's a question mark. I mean, should they thought about unloading him this year?
He got like second in MVP voting.
I know, but the problem is he doesn't play for Jacksonville. He played for Dallas.
And then he lost in the first
Yeah.
round. But
Yeah.
they are
And
talking
he
about
keeps doing-
signing him to the biggest contract ever.
And they're going to have to do an extension on him. And I don't think anybody really wants to. But you almost have to if you're going to continue this. They're going to have to extend him. And
Well, if let's say you're the Dallas GM, are you rolling with Dak? Are you going to extend him to the biggest contract ever?
no, I would never extend him. I would say, you know what? You got 1 year to win a Super Bowl. And it's going to be next year. If you don't do it, that's it, dude. That you can't extend him. It's ridiculous to extend him. A lot of it's not his fault because you're asking the guy. There's way too much media pressure. There's way too many bad memories in his head to ask him to go out to win football games in the playoffs without really an established running game. They're going to need a hog at running back. They need to do something, whether get Derrick Henry or get someone that is going to take the pressure off of him. If you're just going to ask him to go out there and win a Super Bowl by himself, it's idiotic. He just doesn't have that in him. Does he have ability? Yeah, he's 36 touchdowns and 9 interceptions last year. Most touchdown passes by a Cowboy quarterback since 1973 in Roger Staubach. I mean, yeah, he had a great year until the playoffs came.
Problem is, Wes, they've already gone down that road before. Remember when they didn't extend him when they could, and then he had this great season and screwed them out of like 20 more million a year. So I don't think they're going to want to do that again.
You extend him now, though. You're buying into Dak for a long time,
right?
Yeah.
If you wait a year and he puts up the same numbers he did this year, then you're paying even more,
right? Or I mean, but then if you lose again in the first round of the playoffs, who cares? Just let him go.
It's okay. They'll get Belichick then. They're going to do what they should have done this year.
Dallas needs, I like Tony Pollard as a utility back. He's not an every down back. They really do need an every down back.
Yeah, they do.
They have more holes. Dallas has more holes than people realize, and a lot of their line is getting. A couple of them are getting older, but
yeah, they need to shore up the middle of their defense.
Yeah,
they need an inside linebacker. They were getting killed. I mean, the Packers just torched them up the middle.
So what about Philly next year? What about this downfall of the Eagles? I mean, they just kind of spiraled.
Didn't you know it was the offensive coordinator's fault? So
Right.
It's not the head coach's fault. It was the offensive coordinator's fault.
Do they just bounce back next year? Is this not if you're Philly GM, are you not worried? Are you thinking your team's going to come right back next year and be back as a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah. I don't know.
They have the talent, right? They have a lot of talent on their team.
They got enough talent on the team. I think they just need to fill some holes and maybe get another back. Just fill some holes. I think they'll be fine. Just because I think you're still only competing with Dallas in that division. I think teams that lose the Super Bowl and come back the next year, they struggle the next season, and I think they kind of hit a wall, and it's just kind of snowballed on them. I think they just got way too much talent, and they'll add talent in the draft at the right places that they'll be fine. Or am I saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they should get to the playoffs next year. That shouldn't be, because I still don't think there's very many great teams in the NFC. If they don't make the playoffs next year, what's his face is gone. I already forgot his name. It's just
their coach.
Yeah, he's gone. They don't make the playoffs next year. He's gone. So
then Braves
they're
can
going to
go in.
fire. They're talking about the Philly fans wanted him gone this year.
Yeah,
I mean, it took about a week. They had these meetings with the owners, and they're like, well, we'll give, it's not a problem, but it's a
Imagine
problem.
Vrabel with that team, though.
right. I think you need a defensive-minded coach with that team. Because that defense could be special, especially if you went out in the offseason, got maybe a free agent or two, a couple rookies in the draft, in your secondary, a couple backup linebackers. Like that defense could be phenomenal. Kind of jumping over to another division there in NFC. What about the Seahawks? Like, what do the Seahawks need to do at quarterback here? You can't keep riding Geno, right?
No, they are.
They are going to, but I'm sure they're looking at other options. As far as I heard someone bring up Fields today, which I don't know how that would really work, but
so what do you expect of them? You expect them to go get someone in the draft to back him up, or do you think they think he's got another 2-3 years?
They got Drew Lock, man.
He's done.
That's your solution. Like Geno's old or hurt, and we got Drew Lock.
Drew Lock came in and won a game for them.
Dude, you need the best quarterback coach of all time to work with Drew Lock, and you know what? It might work because he has a cannon for an arm. But he's like Jay Cutler, dude. He's like a B to Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler was better, but he does have a good arm. He does make some nice throws at times. He just throws 3 interceptions in the preseason, which I don't even know how you can do such a thing in the first half. He throws some bad.
If I'm Seattle, put myself in that position, I'm not happy with either of those guys.
No.
Like I think Seattle needs to do something either in free agency or the draft to figure out what they're going to do for the next few years at least at quarterback, because you got talent on that team right now that can compete.
I mean, there's another place that's not a bad option for Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins going to make a lot of money this offseason.
You're going to get the old man that just tore his ACL.
Well,
I think Rams are good with Stafford.
Stafford, yeah, that's fine.
Arizona's got to still roll with Kyler, right? I don't think they can make a change.
Yeah, because they can get Marvin Harrison. They should get Marvin Harrison Jr. Unless something happens, but
either that or they get Malik Neighbors, right? So
yeah, either way, they're adding a really good receiver.
Yeah. And they didn't play bad once he came back.
Yeah. Well, they didn't play bad all season.
There's always
even the games they lost, they were in most of their games. They beat Dallas early in the season.
Question mark with him about his is he all in or not? I mean, he is playing for the Cardinals here. I mean, I can't blame him if I'm like, I'm kind of going through the motions half the season because I'm playing for the Cardinals. I'm just saying there's a question mark there.
With Kyler, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
his motivation's always been question mark.
I mean, but can you imagine? You were talking about Tua. Tua's good, but limitations with Tua. I just don't think he scrambles well. He doesn't throw on the wall. He has to be in the perfect situation, Tua, and then he's really good, but he's not elite. And I think they're look. I saw a draft board where the Dolphins are looking at Penix late in the first round, and
Maybe
it's
it's a
interesting.
backup, I mean, in case Tua
Well,
dies
because
or
they have to
something.
pay Tua.
Yeah, they get paid. Yeah, that's another problem too. Do you pay him? Like, can you imagine Kyler Murray on the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill, with
Yeah.
Waddle?
I don't know
Dude,
though, because
Ron,
with
dude,
McDaniel though, I think he wants a point guard that just distributes fast.
Right.
true,
Yeah.
but I think he needs.
Sounds like another spot for Cousins.
God, dude. No, no.
Cousins is going everywhere, dude.
I don't see Cousins in South Beach, dude. That's an oxymoron.
Have you seen him though with his gold chain and shirtless? Come on, man.
Dude, yeah, you
Dude,
gotta
I
watch
saw
out.
that and I thought it was in the Twilight Zone, dude. It was like, is that Kirk Cousins without his shirt on? He's got a chain. Dude, did someone like roofie him or something? What is going on here?
Let's see. So the Bucks look like they're gonna stay with obviously
Yeah. That's a question mark.
I mean, but he had it Baker. I mean, he had a good season, right? So
Of
you
course.
can't. They went to the playoffs. He looked good.
Terrence Hall's got a
They're not at
good
the point
season.
where they're going to replace him.
Yeah, they can't replace. They can't. They got to give him an extension, and they got to kind of roll to him next season.
But they got to worry about other positions. They got a lot of
Yeah.
other positions that they need to worry about.
Especially if they lose Evans.
Saints. I mean,
Boy.
yeah, just 1 year with Carr.
Yeah, but they could be in the market to draft somebody here, and they can. JJ kind of falls in that. Bo Nix kind of falls in that.
So what's
But
Carr's
I don't think
future look
I don't
like?
think they'll do that.
Do you stick with Carr? Do you guys think Carr continues to play quarterback at a high level, or what does Carr's career look like now?
I think with him is he started playing well towards the end of the year because he destroyed the Buccaneers. But I would still draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would think more like Spencer Rattler.
Yeah. Yeah, I would wait.
Later pick.
Yeah.
Atlanta, I kind of feel like Atlanta got to make a move, right? Because Ritter's not the guy.
We thought that was the perfect spot for Fields, but now we're hearing other people.
Yeah.
Like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins to Atlanta now. I think Fields is still a potential landing spot for the Falcons. But you got a pretty high draft pick.
Yeah, they do. You get a receiver, you get a Roman Duze, you can.
Well, like actually someone they'll use, right?
No, they
Yeah.
won't. They'll
Arthur
draft
Smith
him
is
and they'll
gone.
sit on the bench.
Yeah, I'm looking at the draft board. They got on one of them. They got Roman Duze, third highest value. Marvin Harrison's number 1, Caleb 2, Roman Duze, Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers. I think the Chargers could use Brock Bowers. I think Herbert needs that security blanket. I think Brock Bowers is going to be really good. He's going to be an All-Pro. He's a beast.
Yeah,
So.
that definitely could be a Chargers pick.
Yeah. Fortunately.
Yeah, exactly. No. Go. Yeah, don't do that.
He could go. I mean, if he slips, he could go to the Titans.
That's where he wants to go.
Yeah,
He actually said that that's where he wants to go.
I could see
The
him going to the
draft.
Titans and looking at the board.
Yeah, the draft. The last one I looked at, he's going to the Titans.
But I mean, so still though, what is Atlanta? Does Atlanta? They have all this talent. Like, do you still roll with Ritter as your quarterback, or do you got to make a
No.
quarterback move?
Yeah, no. Ritter is done.
But do
That's
you
not
pick
absolutely
Nix or McCarthy at 9? Is it 9, right?
no, dude. That's
8
8.
again. Like, how many times are they gonna have 8?
Wow.
They got Bijan at 8. They got uh
Drake London at 8,
Drake
right?
London at 8. But I
no.
mean, when you look at Atlanta, they got to make a move for quarterback, right? Whether it's drafting one, moving up for one, trading for one. You have too much talent on that team to roll with Desmond Ritter.
It's like they could almost. I think maybe they can move up for Drake May. I don't think they can move up for Jane Daniels. I think Washington, if they can't get Caleb, they want Daniels. I think Drake May. The Patriots are weird. I think they would rather fill other needs because I think they know they're not going to be good next year. I think they know they're going to suck. I mean, they were so bad last year.
Well, I
They
heard
really,
they want Bo Nix.
they really need picks. They need players. Drake May. You got to really see more of Drake May just in the combine. I hate to say it.
Are the Giants staying with Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
They almost have.
That's a spot for a receiver or for a tackle.
Yeah.
So you think they're is it because they paid him, or they just still think he's
Well, I just think it's because his offensive line and his skill positions have been horrible, right?
right?
Yeah.
So you can't really determine how good he can be. I mean,
Yeah, they got
That could be a Malik Neighbors landing spot,
yeah, I see either Neighbors or Joe or Alt
right?
going there.
Fashanu is there.
And it's the Giants; they're probably taking a tackle. Giants
But
love to take
I think,
offensive line.
I think the Jets want to tackle at 10 there. I think Fashanu or Alt. I don't think Alt's going to be there at 10, but Fashanu might be. Or
Then
some.
you have the Packer or the Jets might have to do for the Oregon State tackle.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's that. Let's move into NFC North. So Minnesota obviously in the market for a quarterback.
Yeah. I think when you go through
Be a great landing spot for Kirk Cousins.
I think when you go through the combine, some of these quarterbacks, it will help them. I think a little bit. I think Penix is. I mean, I got him ranked 40th, like he's a second round pick now. I think he still might be a late round. I think someone might just reach for Bo Nix because people are they're desperate for quarterbacks. And so if you can get him like 12, 13, but the thing is, Minnesota's right there at 11. And, you got stud receivers. You got Jefferson. You got Addison. You got guys that can make any quarterback look like an all-pro. You got Hawkinson. It's like Bo Nix. We'll see what he does in the combine. But I think he's a character. I hate to say it, but he seems like a character guy. He has ability. He can run. He's mobile. It's just you got to see how he can when it's reading defenses, pre-snap stuff. That has to be evaluated. But 11 is not a bad spot for Bo Nix there.
Yeah, I mean, you think
they
Bo
need
Nix
a
will go at
quarterback.
11?
They are going to need a quarterback. That's all there's to it. And you're not going to. And this is the year to do it. You're right.
What if they trade for Fields and then Fields kills them? Wouldn't that be the worst thing
I
ever?
thought about
I don't
that.
know. There'd be no way the Bears traded.
There's no way they would trade him with it because I thought about Fields would be perfect, but there's no way they would trade him in.
The only way that would happen is if they gave up their first round pick,
right,
for Fields.
Yeah,
And then Fields just
Freedom
torches him for the next
go
10
away.
years.
Yeah.
Right. Because, I mean, if you look at it, and that's the thing is right now you've got next year, the tops are Sanders, Alar from Penn State, and Quinn Ewers from Texas.
Right.
That's your top three.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to be all in on Sanders next year.
Yeah. And that, I mean,
You don't know what you're getting there still. Yeah.
Well, so Minnesota, I mean, that's interesting. Bo Nix at 11. And then so Bears, obviously, we've talked about this a lot. Seems like they got to go Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Washington. No, Washington's the other one. So Washington would be Jaden Daniels because they can't roll with what they got, right? You got to get away from Howe.
Oh, yeah. You're
unless you want to, just like we were talking about the Commanders and the Patriots should both trade down because there's no way they're winning the division in the next 3 or 4 years.
Right. Well, it's not a bad idea, right? Try to get some capital.
Yeah.
Because you look at, so now we've talked about a lot of teams and quarterback needs, right? Maybe Minnesota doesn't want Bo Nix. Maybe they want Jane Daniels
Yeah.
or Caleb or Drake May. So, or Atlanta wants to move up to Jaden Daniels or Drake May.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I could see teams like Denver. Denver's got the 12th pick. That's not that far back.
No, and there's a couple boards that say Bo Nix there.
But the Broncos can't really trade up because they don't have any draft picks.
That's true.
No,
Well, they got most of their picks back now, right?
they are in a salary cap. They're in the tank when it comes to salary cap.
Raiders, like you think about their team, they don't need a lot.
No,
Yeah,
I think they're going to be very aggressive.
Because you're still at 13, right? So even if you give up a lot of picks to move up now, when you look at their team, they don't need a ton of rookies, right? They're pretty solid.
And they don't draft first rounders great anyway, so screw it. Just trade up.
Just trade up.
Trade a bunch of first rounders. Who cares? Get a quarterback.
I really want Jaden Daniels. I'll take Fields though, but I mean, you can go up and get Daniels, but you're going to give up a lot. But why not? You better go in now.
Well, and then Daniels was recruited by Antonio Pierce.
Yeah.
In college.
The tough part about the Patriots now, though, is without Belichick. Like I could have seen Belichick moving back.
Right.
Yeah.
Now without him, I don't know that they're that type of team anymore. Washington, Howe played well enough.
But you got Kingsbury coming in, and you don't get Kingsbury unless you're saying we're going to get.
Well, he wants Caleb Williams. Like he's expressed that. I think it kind of, yeah. It's going to depend on what the Bears do, obviously. But when you look at it, I think the most likely to move is Minnesota, the Raiders, the Falcons. So 8, 11, and 13. I think they're most likely after everything going through all the quarterback scenarios we just talked about.
Yeah.
Well, the other flip side, if I'm the Raiders, you imagine at 13, you can get one of the top defensive players on the board.
Right.
Because you could get like a Dallas Turner.
Oh, absolutely.
Or, whatever corner you think is the best, you'll have your pick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it. So the Bears question mark at 9 because they could go defense there, even though they should go tackle. They could go defense with that pick. I could see them taking like Kool-Aid there.
Could you imagine 2 years in a row that right before the Jets pick, all the best tackles are taken because you'll have you have Alt, Fashanu, and then Tulaga all gone
Right.
for the Jets pick.
Well, I
Really?
mean, the Giants probably take one. The Bears possibly take one.
Titans,
I can't see the Titans not going with Bowers if he's available. Chargers could take a tackle,
you know,
or maybe the Chargers take Bowers and then the Titans take a tackle.
right.
That's a pretty likely scenario there. So it's quarterbacks overall. There's a lot of question marks out there as we kind of went through that. It's the solids are still the same, right? You're still talking about the Allens, the Mahomes, the Burrows. It's
Lamar.
interesting you brought up Lawrence because I don't know if he's a question mark.
He didn't play very well last year, and he's injured.
Yeah,
He seems to be getting injured more often.
that is an interesting outlook. I think I don't know. I feel like they're all in on it, but maybe they're not.
Well, now that you got CJ Stroud there, Anthony Richardson there, so Trevor Lawrence now almost, he's below Stroud now.
Right.
And we haven't seen him too much of Warren or of Richardson yet, but who knows? Trevor Lawrence could be the third best quarterback in that division.
Yeah. Well, you haven't seen a lot of Will Levis yet either.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah, that's an interesting one to see what they'll do because he's got it. What's he in? Is this his third year?
His fourth year.
Fourth.
This will be his fourth.
Yeah, you remember he had one horrible year with Urban Meyer, right? And
Right,
then,
right. Okay. So yeah, so this was his last year before they have to extend him to go for the 5th-year contract. I think
Yeah, I mean,
it'll come down to how he plays this year. Like
yeah, I mean, 1, 2, yeah, this is his fourth year. He had 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 65% completion rating.
well, and they just tanked the second half.
Yeah. So,
I think the thing is like Wes said, he's injured a lot, but he played injured. And I
He
think
did.
that's what caused.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to sit out, get healthy. Even the team takes a couple losses. Yeah,
I feel
so
like that's what Burrow needed to do at the beginning of the year.
right. Yeah, possibly come back too early. But then his injury was different than what his original injury was anyway. So his season ending.
But he didn't look at throwing the ball earlier in the year, though.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bengals are going to be a question mark for me next year. Although they didn't have a terrible year, and that was his name Brownings that who came in.
Yeah.
He's just going to take over for Burrow. Burrow to Minnesota.
There you go.
Too bad he just signed a huge contract, right? Well, kind of looking at that next year, I kind of agree with Wes when you think about it, is with all these different moves teams need to be making, it's kind of hard not to look at those top teams and say they're probably just going to be right back there, right?
yeah, we'll see when the schedule comes out. Start getting an idea. The Jets are going to be interesting just because Aaron Rodgers is going to be back. All right. we're gonna have the whole soap opera again for a couple months until the start of the season, and then see what happens there.
Well, because the Jets didn't even, they just needed competent quarterback play, right? They didn't need like MVP
Right.
quarterback play.
Yeah, the Jets gonna make it more interesting in the East because I think I just the East is gonna be brutal just because of the top three. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine Buffalo's not going to have a good season. Miami's going to win games. Then the Jets have a competent quarterback. Like if Rodgers stays healthy, they'll be right there too. The Patriots, I think they're going to be on their down year again. But yeah, when you just think about it overall, it's like you got to expect Houston to be playing better next year as well, right? So Houston will be back. Ravens will be back. Kansas City apparently never goes away. Uh,
Well, supposedly Harbaugh is going to fix all the Charger problems, right?
yeah, that's tough. I mean, I'm actually surprised that he went to the Chargers.
Oh, it's all about Herbert.
Yeah, I know he loves Herbert, but I don't know. I don't know if I would have went to the Chargers. Like, why wouldn't I guess the Bears are keeping Eberflus, but he should have been in their ear like before. Been like, look, fire that guy. But I don't know. I guess, what's your other options? Atlanta, Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you already know what you got with the quarterback.
Right.
So,
Well, because of those three options, right? You gotta think he's the best option there at quarterback.
yeah.
let's do it.
Atlanta's got a lot of talent though.
Yeah, they had a lot of talent last year, and how did it work out by freaking fantasy team?
Yeah, you can't you need a quarterback to win. At least to go real far. I mean, Pittsburgh can win without a quarterback, apparently. Pittsburgh's at 20 again. There you go. They may take another quarterback.
Pittsburgh is a perfect place for Gardner Minshew.
Actually, might not be terrible.
I think it's an upgrade from Cody Pickett.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't care when you
Well,
drafted him and how much you played him already. I can't see you going forward with him. I think they get Fields or Wilson. I think Pittsburgh does.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. Well, that's we'll wrap the NFL season there. So next up, we got March Madness on the way. You guys been watching any of that? UConn still sitting at number one,
Saw
maybe coming
Caitlin
in.
Clark broke the all-time points record for women's college basketball.
Yeah, I did see that. She on a 50-point game too, 49 points.
And did you see that like the point that broke it was like a deep three?
Yeah, like a real deep three. Yeah, that was pretty cool to watch. It should be interesting to see her in the women's tournament this year. I feel like she's got some vendettas and
Yeah.
she's going to be on a mission. But I was surprised that UConn, and we'll see, as we get closer to the playoffs, we'll talk more college basketball, get closer to the tournament. But surprised to see UConn right back there dominating again.
Well, it's just it. There's Teams seem to be beating up on each other. I mean, looks like Big 12's the strongest conference this year. No. So
Yeah, they had
Purdue's
a couple. Oh yeah, they've got Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Baylor, BYU, and Oklahoma all in the top 25.
yeah.
And Texas
Go
Tech could
Pack.
be there.
Oh, Texas Tech crushed Kansas, beat them by like 29 2 nights ago. I was like, Kansas scored like 50 points.
Well, Gonzaga is not ranked.
No, but they did beat Kentucky.
Boy, that'll be weird for not seeing Gonzaga in the top seed, huh?
Well, here's the crazy one. Indiana State
Yeah, they're
is
23rd.
ranked for the first time since Larry Bird was there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they started showing their games on because everyone's like, they're like, oh my god, they've been gone for so many years, and now they're ranked again. I think they've only lost twice
They've got 4 losses,
before us.
22-4.
Yeah, but they got Purdue. Purdue's what are they ranked number 2?
Yeah, Purdue's tough.
Yeah, well, they still got Edie, right?
Edie's
Yeah.
a beast.
He's like a ginormous.
He's massive.
Yeah, Purdue's looking prime to make a run for sure.
That's going to be interesting.
Big Ten looks pretty weak though. Yeah, it's getting into that time, you got 1 month till the tournament. So you get into conference tournaments here.
Yeah,
Gonna be
they got Gonzaga the first 4 out right now.
well, they're right there though. Gonzaga could definitely win here. Last
Oh,
few games, play well in their conference tournament, and easily be in the tournament, no problem.
Oh, they could get the automatic. I mean, they could win the whole tournament. No, they're in. So
Where does it have my Florida Gators?
SEC's tough.
They are not Gators. They should be.
They should have made the tournament.
What's their record?
17-7.
Oh yeah, they're somewhere in here somewhere.
Because they're same record as Kentucky, and they beat Kentucky.
And Kentucky's ranked, and they're not.
Yep.
Florida's an 8 in the bracketology. They're an 8 seed. So
Yeah, SEC's got 5 ranked teams right now. So they're looking pretty good.
Nebraska's in the tournament, man. Nebraska's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of a couple of their games, and they're not horrible. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Pac-12 is not looking good this year.
Oregon's gone.
Let's see what the Pac-12 looks like. I haven't really watched many Pac-12.
We only have one ranked team, that's Arizona. I think Washington State's second. They got them projected as a 9 seed.
Yeah, Arizona's 19-5, Washington State's 18-6, and then Oregon is 16-8. That's your top 3 teams. Then the next team, well, there's 16-8 Colorado too, but their conference schedule's not good. It's 7-6, and UCLA at 13-11.
Dude, UCLA, what the hell happened to them? You're UCLA.
Wow, yeah, UCLA. But they're 9-5 in conference, though.
I can't. Maybe Oregon's not in.
UCLA will probably play well in the tournament, conference tournament, and get in.
Well, they gotta at least get to the semifinals or.
Jeez, what's up with USC?
What's their record?
They're second to last. in the
9 and
Pac-12.
15 overall. 3 and 10 in the Pac-12.
Now the worst, I don't because I haven't been paying attention. Not Pac-12, but Big Ten. Michigan
Yeah.
is 8 and 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's going on, Juwan Howard?
That's pretty rare for Michigan too.
That's pretty bad.
3 and 11 in conference.
Yeah, they're the worst in the conference. Ohio State's a 4 and 10 in the conference.
Yeah, they just fired their coach.
Jeez.
Yeah, they just fired him.
That's kind of weird. That'll be weird not to see them in the tournament. Both those teams.
We're gonna have another one where it's just a bunch of hodgepodge here. Because can we really trust Purdue, Houston, Marquette?
Right.
No, I watched Marquette the other night. I don't. I mean, it's gonna be another crazy tournament. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna find doesn't Marquette play 2 games here against
I don't know.
I thought I saw somewhere they have to play twice, like against UConn, right? Don't they?
Oh
That's what's crazy about college basketball compared to football. You have Houston, Marquette, Dayton, Creighton, St. Mary's, BYU, Indiana State, and Florida Atlantic all in the top 25.
Right. Well, it's a big difference, right? Because you're fielding a lot less players.
Right.
And in basketball, 1 or 2 guys can make a huge difference in the game. So all you got to do is just have 2 good players. Yes, Marquette plays UConn twice to finish the season. So that'll you'll find out they're going to lose 2 games there. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch this, get into our March Madness stuff here in the coming weeks. But because we got what's it 2 months till draft for NFL.
Yeah, I think 1 month till free agency and then April, whenever, like end of April now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's just give it. I mean, I'm tired of this.
Let's get it done. Let's get the season started.
Yeah.
Season just ends and we're ready for a new season.
Yeah,
Well,
April 25th. Oh,
yeah, April 25th. Jeez, yeah. 2 months, 60 days, 70 days. But that's wraps up the NFL season. We had not the greatest preseason picks for us this year for our playoff contenders. Our regular season picks weren't too bad, so we did all right with the regular season. Wes led the way in the regular season. Playoffs a little shaky. We were a little shaky in the playoffs.
Steve won by default. No.
Yep, that's good. Well, you flipped to Detroit.
Yeah.
Should have rode with Detroit there, but none of us had Kansas City, so it doesn't matter. And Kansas City takes home their third in 5 years.
Yeah. And they've been to the Super Bowl 4 times in 5 years.
Right.
And
I mean, that's a dynasty of a making if you ever saw one.
Kelsey did not propose. What in the world? It was perfect.
A lot of Vegas bets on that people lost on.
Now it's setting up for next year because then it'll be like more proper. I mean, appropriate. They've only been going out for like 4 months.
They'll
Right?
be broken up, and she'll already have a song about him by next year.
I don't know. He's a Swiftie though.
That's my prediction. My prediction for the start of next season, Kelsey and Swift break up and she writes a song about it.
Or they're still together and she writes the great love song about that.
Okay, well, that could be the other part. Well, okay, well, that wraps up the NFL season, wraps up HSC Podcast Season 4. That was our 4th season, finishing out here. And we'll take a break, 1 week break, and get into March Madness. I think will be our next podcast. So if you're still, listening right now, stay tuned for March Madness. We get back into that. Then March Madness will take us into free agency and the draft and summertime into top fives. So we'll be back there. Thanks for
Top 5
listening.
Taylor Swift songs, right?
What's that?
Top 5 Swiftie songs.
Oh man, Wes will be the expert on that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next time.